If you're anything like me and you're pushing your blade to the absolute limits, getting it dirty, getting it sweaty, pushing it in and out of saltwater environments, it's inevitable that it's going to get beat up. It's going to get grimy, it's going to get dirty. That's exactly why I built this blade care kit, and I'm going to break this down for you guys so it takes the guesswork out of what you need to take care of your gear and your blade on a daily basis. Okay, let's get into the contents. This is a field sharpener. This is something I'm gonna go into, and this is the workbench sharpener, okay? I like these for specific reasons, and I'm gonna go into them. They're not included in the kit, although you will have this as an available upgrade when you check out. Some people have their own way of sharpening. Some people like doing it a certain way. I didn't want to force that on anybody, but this will be available as an option. These will also be linked below, so you guys can find both of these on our website and purchase them if you need to upgrade your sharpening capabilities. The first thing you're gonna see when you open this up, this is our Dynamis branded case. It's waterproof, so it's gonna stay out of the elements and keep everything in here protected. It actually has more space to put some other customized items that you wanna put in here yourself if you wanna upgrade as well. The sharpener will go into this kit. You can close this and basically have the perfect blade care kit to travel with you, to go anywhere, to always have with you. This is like the no excuses, everything you need to take care of your blade. Okay, as you get into here, the first thing you're gonna see when you pull it out is a card with a QR code on it. That QR code is gonna take you to this blade care kit as a reminder for these pro tips and all the things that I'm teaching you today. That way, if you ever need a reference, you can always go back to that, scan it with your phone, and we'll take you right back to this video. The next thing you're gonna see is this cleaning mat. Why a cleaning mat? Well, if we're shifting environments or we're working around our house, I know my wife appreciates when I put this thing down in certain areas, because when we're cleaning our blade, we're gonna be using oils, we're gonna be using synthetics, we're gonna be using things that are gonna eat in the surfaces. So this just allows you to put that barrier down and have a nice soft environment that creates a barrier to keep that oil from going on the table. Plus you can start laying out your gear and say, okay, my blade's gonna go here. It kind of keeps us organized and creates that protective barrier, okay? Then the next thing you're gonna see is the blade oil we have. We are always on the lookout and the hunt for the best blade oils we can find. And honestly, this was a blade oil that I think worked better than anything else that's out there. I've tried the waxes, I've tried firearms oil. We partnered with Wolf, and we really appreciated what they did with their formula, and it just cut through a lot of the nonsense. It penetrated through the blade, it was able to protect the blade long term. I was able to get spots out. So I just appreciate the formula they use. And you will get a 1 ounce bottle of this, which if you're doing routine maintenance, this should last you about, I would say, a year to 2 years, if you're routinely using the oil like you should. And the next thing you're gonna see is this plastic bag with the abrasives in it. You've got steel wool and you have sandpaper. We'll talk about the uses of those in a moment. The next thing is the blade cleaning cloth. This is a premium cleaning cloth that we selected, and I'm very picky about the material that I use to clean stuff with, especially firearms and blades. And this is actually a very absorbent material that keeps the oil in here and takes the stuff off the blade. I can't stand the microfiber cloths that will basically repel water and oil, and so it's not really doing anything except moving stuff around. You'll see when you get this, it's a very premium feel and the oil absorbs right into it. It's the best thing that I've found for really getting into the surface of the blade, okay? And the next thing you're gonna see on the top of the kit is the rest of what I believe is important. Okay, I'm gonna break these things down one by one. And again, these are the essentials that I feel like you absolutely need to take care of your blade. These Q-tips that we selected, essentially they have a point on them. And the reason I like that point as opposed to a very rounded Q-tip is it allows me to get in really, really tight areas, whether that's inside of these holes on the Winkler blades. You can see that I can punch all the way through. If I have a little bit of sand in there, whatever the case is, and if I have a little bit of oil and I spin that thing through, you can see I can get a little bit of that grub out of there. And I'm gonna continue to do that until I get it cleaned out, put a little bit of oil on there, and just keep running these through. They're just essential to have. That way you can get oil in those tough to reach spots and you can clean stuff out in hard to reach areas. The next thing is gonna be a polymer brush. Why is this important? Because these tiny bristles, I usually will put a dab or two of oil on here, and I'll go through and I'll brush out the jimping like this. So I get all the dirt and grime out of those areas in all of these hard to reach places. And then I have the other side of the brush as well, which reaches even deeper into some of this jimping. Okay, that's gonna clear out a lot of the gunk in there, and then I have a clean surface in there to be able to put the oil into contact deep down in those surfaces and those crevices. So that's why this exists. This is really good to just quickly clean out this area. So that's your polymer brush, okay? Then the next thing we have, and this one's good for really, really difficult areas that may have gunked up to the point where neither of the brushes or the Q-tips are working. And so I've got a fine point on this Polymer Pick. Now I've got several types of picks. I tried to downsize and pick two that I thought worked the best on all of the blades that we offer. And so you've got several different points that can get into the jimping really, really well, all the way down to the corners on every particular spot. So if you see a spot that the Q-tip's not working or the polymer brush isn't working, use one of these polymer picks and you can really get down into those small crevices. Okay, here as well, sometimes these polymer brushes in areas where you have almost like, call it hidden jimping, is gonna really help you dig in. So you can see I've got a lot of buildup right in this area, but with this pick, I can get that right out of there and you can see that gunk coming out. And it allows me to really get that nice and clean. And again, I'm gonna get the majority of it out, then go to the Q-tips, then go to the brush. You can see I'm kind of loosening this up. Now I'm gonna put the pick aside. I'm gonna get my smaller brush, start getting all that out of there, put a little bit of oil, get the bigger brush, get the Q-tip, and so on and so forth. And I keep kind of knocking that grease and grime out of these crevices. Okay, the last thing you're gonna see in the bag is a Sharpie. Why do I put a Sharpie in here? I put a Sharpie in the kit because when you're going to find your blade edge, this is why this blade care kit is not only just for our blades, it's for any blade that's out there. But when you go to find your blade edge and you're gonna use a field sharpener or this belt sharpener, especially with the belt sharpener, you know, you start at a lower grit to really find it. You don't wanna go at a higher grit ever with a new blade, especially when you're trying to find that edge. I'm gonna take this Sharpie and I'm gonna mark the edge, just the edge. I'm gonna put the Sharpie. The reason I'm gonna do that is that I'm gonna go all the way along to the tip on every place I plan on sharpening. Then when I go on my belt sharpener or when I go on this sharpener, when I do a pass, I can see this is all Sharpied. Then when I grab this and I'm at my 20-degree guide, because this is a 20-degree guide here, I'm gonna do one simple pass, okay? Then I'm gonna look back down. All right, that hit almost just the edge. And what does that tell me? My angle is still too high. I need to steepen that angle a little bit more to run the whole edge on it. Run another pass. Okay, at some point during my transition, it actually went through the entire blade edge. That gets me to know that I'm on the right track. If I'm just hitting the sharpest part of the edge and not the whole edge itself, I'm not going down the right road because that's gonna dull the blade and not sharpen it the way it should at the right angle. So now I know that it's not 20 degrees. That's my 20-degree guide. I can even see where the Sharpie came off on the stone. So I'm gonna come off, I'm gonna angle it a little bit more. Now I know I'm on the right track. I'm hitting that whole blade edge. And look, I'm starting to see all the Sharpie starting to disappear. That's gonna give me the edge that I need when I do multiple passes. I go on the other side, okay? So now that we broke everything down, that's in this plastic bag, I'm gonna go to the abrasives kit. Why do I include an abrasives kit? Well, the steel wool is in here because if you've neglected your blade and you didn't take care of it and you got to a point where you've got some spots or rust coming up on the surface of the blade, steel wool is a really, really good place to start. All I'm gonna do is find the spot on my blade that I wanna clear the surface rust off of. I'm gonna put one drop on here. First thing I'm gonna do is start with my cleaning cloth, okay? And this is assuming that you've already done this. So I use my cleaning cloth, okay? I typically put a finger in there, and then I'll just either go back and forth or do circles on that spot. Sometimes you let it sit overnight if they're really that bad, and you really just let it eat into that corrosiveness. And then I'm gonna see how that does. I'm gonna see how that does to remove that surface rust. Now, let's fast forward a little bit and say, hey, look, I let that sit overnight. I tried using my cleaning cloth. It's just an aggressive spot of corrosion. What else can I do to get rid of it? That's where the steel wool is gonna come into play. Okay, I'm gonna put another drop on here, and then I'm gonna use the steel wool because it's very, very, I don't wanna say non-abrasive, but it's not as abrasive as some of the other stuff out there where I can really dig into the surface and not really affect the coating too much. Now, what I will tell you that there's a lot of different coatings out there, but most of our blades will handle this pretty well, especially all of our legacy blades. You guys can use this to remove anything, and you can even check your steel wool and you're gonna see the same thing where it starts to come out and it starts to pull that rust up. This is for very stubborn spots, okay? I wouldn't use this if you don't need it and if you haven't tried the rag already, okay? That's typically what I'm using the steel wool for, okay? Now, last piece of the kit is the sandpaper. I don't recommend using the sandpaper on the blade edge or the metal. That is not what this is for, okay? This was specifically selected, this grain, this grit, for changing your blade handle angle. If you find a hot spot on here, and I've already carried this for a long time, so I already did this to this blade, and it's nice and smooth at the top here, as opposed to a newer blade that hasn't had that level of attention yet. All right, this is a double edge. Okay, I can feel that 90-degree angle right here at the top. Okay, because this is either micarta or G10 or any other woven material, typically on our blades, even if it's a printed blade or it's an injection molded blade handle, it doesn't matter. You can still use this if you're finding a hot spot. That's my recommendation. So you pull the sandpaper out, find that hard edge, be like, okay, that's where it's at. I'm gonna take a surface, you can put it down on the cleaning mat or in a protective area or somewhere where you got some stability. And then I'm just going to gently remove wherever that hot spot is. Okay, just like this. It's this simple. It is literally this simple. It takes this level of effort. All I'm doing is just hitting that one spot that was digging into me, just enough to knock it down. Then I'm gonna go back and feel. That solved most of the problem, and I'm gonna work my way down a little bit more, right to that spot right there. And that's gonna give me a nice, smooth edge right there. Okay, that's what this sandpaper is for. Everybody's blade and everybody's body is gonna be a little bit different. So now you have what I think is the perfect grit that's gonna allow you to not be too aggressive, but just knock those hot spots off of your handle so it's way easier and more comfortable to carry. That's important, and I tell people all the time, some people will get a blade and be like, oh man, this is uncomfortable. It's like, all you have is a hot spot. You just need to let that thing down. It will make a world of difference on your everyday carry comfortability of what you're doing with your blade. So don't forget that that's in there. These abrasives are important. This is a kit that's very cost effective for anybody to buy, and ultimately it gives us the option to be able to take care of our gear. Take care of your gear, and your gear is going to take care of you. It's taken us a while to put this together, but I wanted to make sure every single thing in here was purposeful, useful, quality, and applicable to your everyday carry needs. Okay, this is something that you guys invest your money into, you carry it every day. So I wanna make sure that you have an asset to be able to take care of this stuff. And whether you pass it down to your children or you decide to carry it and need it to defend your life, it's there when you need it and it's ready to go. You can go check the link below. You should be able to find all of this on our site. Blade Care Kit, remember you can upgrade the sharpener. If you guys have any questions or comments, comment below. We'll reach back out to you when we can. And I think that's it. God bless everybody. Keep crushing everything. Peace.